After being woken up by Eagly one night, Peacemaker realizes that the quantum chamber he uses as a storage area also acts as a doorway to alternate realities. And in one of these realities, he's part of a superhero team with his father and brother Keith, both of whom, just in case you don't remember, are dead in his reality. Overwhelmed by this information, Peacemaker quickly leaves the chamber and returns home. 6 months later, though, he struggles with being taken seriously as a superhero and even fails to join the Justice Gang. This causes him to return to the alternate universe, where he eventually encounters himself. A fight breaks out between the two Peacemakers, which ends with the alternate Peacemaker accidentally dying. Now, when I first realized that this season was going to include some multiversal shenanigans, I naturally assumed that these shenanigans were going to explain how Peacemaker could jump from the old DCEU into the new DCU. So I was a bit disappointed to see that the episode has nothing to do with the continuity change. Yes, Peacemaker does technically jump from one universe to the other, but those jumps aren't related to the old DC universe in any way, shape, or form. So it feels like the old continuity is part of this weird fever dream. One where some things are still considered to be canon, even though most other things are not. Which I do find to be a little annoying, because even though the Justice Gang fits in this universe better than Snyder's Justice League, retroactively including them in Season 1's finale does create some continuity issues. Because the events of Peacemaker Season 1 directly tie into the events of the Suicide Squad, and there are elements of the Suicide Squad that directly connect to David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And the events of Suicide Squad are directly connected to the events of Batman v Superman. So trying to figure out where one timeline ends and the other one begins is admittedly distracting. Thankfully, the story is engaging enough to make up for the distracting continuity. Despite my personal issues with the new canon, I'm glad to be back in this little corner of the DC universe. I like Peacemaker, and I want to see where his story is going to take his character. Same goes for all of the supporting characters. It sucks that Adebayo and her girlfriend broke up, but it's good to see that she's still in good spirits. I'm not sure if I believe that Harcourt would have slept with Peacemaker, but I do believe that she would have a hard time finding work in other government agencies, especially since she suffers from having toxic masculinity. I like how Vigilante has become friends with Economos, and how Economos seems to have more loyalty to Peacemaker than he does to his new job with Rick Flag Sr. Speaking of which, I do want to see how Flag is going to play into the story being told, especially since Peacemaker killed his son. And that event did happen in the old DCEU, but whatever, I guess. Since the rest of the episode is so thoroughly entertaining, I can forgive how dismissive the hand-waving retcons can feel. So, the Season 2 premiere is a lot of fun. Despite the huge creative overhaul at DC, Peacemaker hasn't skipped a beat. This very much feels like a continuation of the show that audiences fell in love with back in 2022. I may have some issues with the continuity, but that doesn't change the fact that I think this is a compelling return to form for the series. James Gunn is in his element here, and since I think he works better with obscure comic book characters than he does with iconic legacy characters like Superman, I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in store for the rest of the season. But I guess we'll see what'll happen on the next episode of Peacemaker once it gets released on Thursday. Before then, be sure to let me know what you thought about the Season 2 premiere of Peacemaker, and as always, thanks for watching.